You're listening to the Inside Commerce podcast hosted by experienced consultants James Gerd and Paul Rogers. Inside Commerce is your fast track to digital knowledge, featuring interviews with leading e-commerce retailers, industry thought leaders, and the C-suite of key tech companies to explore the latest in digital strategy, customer experience, and tech. Discover what the latest trends really mean and get practical advice based on experience to help fine-tune your e-commerce strategy and tech stack. Follow us on LinkedIn and reach out to James or Paul if you'd like to discuss an e-commerce project. We hope you enjoy the latest episode.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Inside Commerce podcast sponsored by Graban and Centra. Today we're joined by someone that I've known for many years and worked with across a couple of companies that we'll come on to. And I'm doing the podcast on my own as James is stuck in traffic. Today's guest is Roshni Patel. She's currently the head of e-commerce at Wild Nutrition, who we'll talk about a lot today, and was previously the head of e-commerce at the Science Museum. Thanks for joining us today. Maybe to start off with, can you give us a bit of an introduction to your background at both of those companies and any other companies, and then your role at Wild as well, and then maybe actually Wild itself as well?
Yeah, great. Hey, so I'm Roshni. I've been working in e-commerce for about 15 years now. Started off very long time ago in a company called Fanatics, where we led the sort of online stores, the official online stores for like the major football clubs, Wimbledon, Open Golf, so Chelsea, United, etc. Kind of learn all the sort of crafts of the trade there in terms of broad scope, email marketing, account management, sort of website content management. And that was sort of back in 2009 when the internet was still sort of fairly new, only 10 years in. So e-com was still sort of in its infancy. So still learning kind of just how it was evolving and growing. And then over that time, worked in a couple of other different companies, focusing on digital marketing, bits of e-com, and then moved into the Science Museum group, where I was looking after sort of e-commerce across all of our sites and really kind of building the strategy around how we're going to build the function more commercially to support revenue generation. It was really about, have we got the right platform? Have we got the right tech stack? We had a huge product catalog, so we needed the right sort of search and merch and all of the right tools to kind of keep the business flowing and just move it into like the modern day, because it was a very old, clunky, bespoke platform that we were using. So moving it across to Shopify. And then joined Wild Nutrition about 2.5 years ago. And we've been on a rapid growth trajectory since I joined. So Wild Nutrition is a supplements business focused on women's health, covering sort of all women's life stages, all the way through from sort of fertility all the way through to menopause and beyond, and supporting sort of women's health just generally, focusing on sort of natural supplements. We offer sort of products online, and we also have partnerships in retail and trade, and we offer a consultation service as well. So we have a team of nutritional therapists who do sort of 15-minute free consultations. And then we also offer sort of paid 45 minutes as well.
Lovely. And so like I said, we've worked with Wild kind of on and off for maybe, 4 or 5 years. They were quite an early client for us. And I think you joined around or just after they kind of raised their first private equity round. Which was, we definitely saw kind of, change in the team, and their strategy definitely changed as part of that. And, when we first started working with them, as you say, they were tiny and they've grown a huge amount since then. So I guess from your perspective, and obviously you joined shortly after, but how did the strategy change, do you think, as part of that kind of raise? And what were some of your observations?
Yeah, so when I joined the business, I was the sort of first hire within e-com when I was there, and it was really about putting the right sort of processes in place, the right teams in place, the right expertise, and just really sort of building things. And I think e-commerce really changed for Wild Nutrition during COVID, like many businesses. So there was a huge sort of boom where everything grew. We're a subscription first business, and supplements lend itself well to subscription. So things were kind of ticking along nicely. And then sort of when the investment came in, it was all around, how do we sort of scale what we've got? How do we get the right expertise in the right places? We actually brought, I think just before I joined, we brought fulfillment and operations back in-house for DTC, which was a huge undertaking, and set up all the systems and the integrations that go around that as well. So it was kind of embedding all of those processes and just being able to kind of maintain stock levels and the increasing demand, and making sure that from an e-commerce perspective, we start putting the right sort of setup in place, because it was a tech stack, which you'd expect, sort of a Shopify sort of ecosystem with all the kind of typical apps that you had, but they hadn't really been given the love that they needed to kind of take it further. So it was really around like assessing, what do we have in place? Do we have the right tools? Do we have the right apps to kind of move us forward and scale?
Grebben create digital flagship stores for iconic brands of today and tomorrow. We are the #1 Sentra agency in the world, with more than 50 Sentra implementations to date. We are also e-commerce design specialists, platform and tech partner agnostic. Try our new e-commerce design subscription. Visit grebben.com.
Great. And you touched on team there. And I think when, Chris first told us about the kind of partnership with Piper, he talked about kind of the need to build out like a bigger team and, bring certain things in-house. How did you approach that, and what roles did you hire for? And then which areas did you decide to keep external?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we've evolved quite a lot since those days, and we kind of started off with, when I joined, quite a few different agencies in different areas. So we had a CRM agency supporting us. We had a performance marketing agency supporting us, Vavant at the time. There was a lot of sort of dependence on that because we didn't have all the expertise in-house. And probably from then to now, we've gone from a place of trying to move away from agency support and building a lot of that expertise in-house as we kind of grow and scale, both to build all of that IP in-house and expertise as we scale, but also, agencies are great, but I think there's a place for them in terms of, we've moved to agencies for more consultancy support now rather than the day-to-day, because a lot of that day-to-day you can gain more efficiency from running in-house yourself. So with all of that comes setting up the right processes and making sure you've got the right sort of reporting, data, metrics surrounding all of that to make sure that you can keep things running smoothly. Because I think without all of that surrounding it and supporting it, things will kind of fall through the gaps quite easily. So where we are today is we've sort of in-house all of our performance marketing, and we've now got a team who is sort of running that side of things. We're also just about to in-house our CRM team as well. So we have a CRM and loyalty manager, but we're also sort of in-housing all of that expertise and building all of that in-house as well. And then from a tech and sort of product development perspective, it's an interesting one because I think we're sort of still evolving through that stage. And over time, we've had a few different agencies supporting with different projects along the way. And usually when they've been larger projects. So when I joined the business, I think they'd just gone through quite a major redesign on the website, etc. And we worked with an agency then. And then we kind of moved into a bit more of a retainer where it was just more optimization work. But then more recently, we've just done a huge 2.0 migration, which was a big lift and shift to take our code base from probably when it was first built to today, and just making things faster, more efficient. Things were getting quite glitchy, quite buggy as we develop more and more. So we've just done that with an agency as well. And since then, we've sort of moved into a bit more of a trying to manage as much of it in-house, but still having sort of developer conversion rate support and maintenance support where needed from sort of freelance developers and agencies.
Sentra is the only commerce platform built exclusively for fashion brands. Over 300 fashion brands run on Sentra, including icons like Paul Smith, Jeff, Avenue, and Nudie Jeans. Sentra solves business logic challenges for fashion brands like no other platform, and they are on a mission to help you scale up rapidly, globally, across all online and offline channels. Take your fashion brand global, faster, further, stronger today.
That makes sense. And we'll come back onto some of those areas a little bit more later. So as you said, like subscriptions are a big part of Wild, and I think the nature of your product would have, a high repeat purchase rate, and I use your products and I have them for years. How do you go about kind of trading the site when it comes to, because I guess like you've got subscribers and you've also then got people that will just come and buy products semi-regularly, and you obviously sell products where, you know, if someone was to get pregnant, they could buy or subscribe to different products. So like there's a lot of room for, there's a lot of different types of customers there, I guess. So how do you approach kind of trading the site for those different types of customers, and particularly like new customers, returning customers, and subscribers?
Yeah, good question. I mean, you can imagine being a subscriber first business. We set the site up for acquiring new customers and new subscribers. So we're very much subscription first in the sense of everything we do is very much about how do we attract new subscribers? How do we make our subscription proposition kind of front and center of the website, making sure it's super clear all the way through the journey from wherever key landing pages are or homepage, PDPs, and making sure that subscription messaging is always first, all the way through to purchase. And so it is very, very much set up for that. And from a returning customer perspective, it's less geared towards them, but more around, we're getting to the point now where our returning customers are visiting us again and we're trying to migrate them to subscriptions, and where there's cohorts of sort of one-time purchasers who won't necessarily subscribe. It's around understanding their behaviors and how we can potentially retarget them, whether that be through CRM comms or whether that be through website journeys and personalization. So personalization is an interesting one because we haven't done too much of it yet. We have used tools like Rebuy, and we are still using tools like Rebuy for sort of upsell, cross-sell, but there's a lot more work we want to do around personalization, especially thinking about how much we can do with potentially a CDP, where we can personalize that experience for different cohorts of new customers or our repeat purchasers, for example. Not necessarily subscribers, but repeat purchasers who might come and visit the website more frequently, who are looking to browse other products and don't necessarily know what they need to purchase. For us, it's about how do we do that storytelling? How do we educate them about other products that we have? And because we're so life stage focused from a women's health perspective, for us, it's really about like, how do women cross through those different life stages? What sort of behavioral trends kind of come with that? Which products do they start from and migrate to? And how do we move them through those life stages, through the different products and different sort of stories that we can tell across the website?
That makes sense. And I think some of the new stuff that Shopify are doing around like the kind of segmentation function they've already got, and linking that to the theme customizer, I think will help with some of that and make it a bit more accessible. So you've obviously mentioned you're on Shopify a couple of times, and you've mentioned Rebuy. Beyond those two, what other third parties do you have in your current technology stack? And kind of how do you use those technologies to support the subscription side?
Yeah, so we, when I joined, we had a lot of apps and probably a lot that we didn't need. And it was making the site quite clunky, very slow. It was adding a load of sort of, a lot of bloat and a lot of page weight. So part of the 2.0 upgrade was to just create a much leaner, faster stack. So we did go through a bit of an app review just to try and understand what we actually need and what's being used, what's actually delivering value for us as well. So now our stack is it's a lot leaner. We have Shopify, Recharge powers our subscriptions. We use Rebuy for personalization and cross-sell, upsell at the moment. We were using Klaviyo, but we've actually just moved to Shopify's native search away from Klaviyo. And Klaviyo is an amazing tool. I've used it in other businesses before and really enjoyed using it as a merchandising tool. But I think for us, we've got quite a small product catalog. We have around sort of 50 products. So there's less sort of merchandising needs and search functionality that's required. And it's more around, for us, just getting people to the right products quickly and moving them through that storytelling and those life stages, and an understanding and an education about the products that we do have and why they would support that particular customer. Other than that, I'd probably say We have a tool for review. So we're using reviews.io, which we're reviewing at the moment. We were using Loyalty Lion, but we no longer have a rewards program in the same way that we had before. So we've just come off Loyalty Lion as well. And they're probably our main tools.
Out of interest, you mentioned that you moved away from Loyalty Lion, and I remember when Wild first kind of introduced loyalty. Like, what was the thinking around that, and do you intend to bring it back at any point?
Yeah, so we are in the process at the moment of actually reviewing our rewards program, and the reason why is when I joined the business, we weren't subscription first at the time, so we had a huge base of sort of returner one-time purchases, and it was very much about how do we migrate customers to subscriptions, what tools can we use to do that, and the loyalty program was a huge part of that in terms of driving that migration to subscription and building value with our customers. But we've evolved so much, and now we've moved into being a subscription first business. The loyalty proposition that we did have just wasn't supportive of our business today. So now we're in the process of reviewing that program to try and understand what's actually valuable for our customer base today that we have, what's going to deliver additional value for us. And so now we're not too sure yet which tool. We're exploring a few different tools to kind of support where we're going, but we haven't quite decided on what that sort of reward structure and program looks like. So depending on how all of that pans out, it will then either be, another platform or another tool, or we might even do something ourselves in-house to try and support what we're trying to deliver.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time for loyalty, I think. We're definitely doing a few projects at the moment, and I feel like when you get to a certain point, and if you try to do loyalty beyond just like standard transactional benefits and, point-based systems, there's still like a bit of a gap there. So and actually the fundamentals of, storing points and issuing points is pretty straightforward. So it's definitely be interesting to see what happens in the loyalty space.
Yeah, it is a really interesting space, and seeing like the bigger players in the world like M&S and Pret changing their loyalty programs is really interesting to watch how they're doing that and why they're doing that. And I think there's a lot of learnings to take away from it as well. And, for us, we know that we have a premium product, and so we don't have value-led customers in the same way, and therefore creating points for pounds isn't quite the value that we want to drive for our customer base. So it's really finding what that value is and how we can deliver it to them.
Yeah, we're doing a couple of loyalty rollouts with fashion brands at the minute, and I think like the actual like point or the equivalent of like pound spend being the like main kind of measure, I think is fine. The bit that a lot of those are trying to do, it's more like the real like kind of unique benefits, service-based benefits, and like pushing that side a bit harder. I think Kif's one of my favorite examples where they've done a lot with like exclusive products. There's a lot of like they do a lot to like make some of their VIPs actually feel like VIPs, and there's lots of service-based benefits. These are all native app-based as well. And I think Hugo Boss and one smash it on that front.
Yeah, and I think there's something to say about loyalty when you have a retail offering as well, because there's something about using it to connect your retail stores with your online customers and trying to bring them into a bit of a unified, like, how do we get our customers across all of our channels?
Exactly. I think all of the ones that I would be referencing, or the majority, are like a lot of the key benefits are in store. So like they'll either issue, things like relatively low cost but high perceived value product that again you can only get as via a tier of membership. Things like Q Skip via Apple Wallet Pass, all of that kind of stuff. And actually Hugo Boss have just introduced a new benefit, which is receipt-less returns, which I think is like amazing, and it's such a tiny thing. But that, like most of the really strong loyalty programs, I agree, are multi-channel.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So going back to the questions, so I know, as you said, like very subscription-based, like towards the end of or when around the time you joined and towards the end of when we were working with Wild from a performance perspective, you were doing a lot of work around the subscriber journey. So I guess both in terms of like the acquisition side and like, pushing the benefits of subscribing and like making it more enticing versus purchasing once or purchasing whenever you need it. But you also push in the actual kind of in subscription experience as well. So kind of, managing the, pausing a subscription, all that kind of stuff. Like, talk us through kind of some of the things that you've done over the last year or so. I realize that's quite a long question.
Yeah, no, it's I'm smiling because it's been a bit of a painful journey, this one, in that we have taken probably longer than we wanted to update our subscriber portal. And as a subscriber brand, or even just generally a customer portal, you want to deliver ease with no friction. You want to give the ability to your customers to be able to log in seamlessly with, a one-time passcode or something really easy to get in, manage your orders, your account, your addresses, your subscriptions, and then just leave. And just make it really easy to do, but also be able to sort of deliver value from a business perspective in terms of how do we drive up AOV by presenting new products to customers that might be relevant to them. So making things a bit more personalized and dynamic in that way. So there was a lot that we wanted to do with the update to our subscriptions portal. And we were on a very old version of a recharge theme portal. And so there was a lot of work that was sort of going into what we wanted it to look like, both from a front end perspective, but also what we needed it to do from a back end perspective. And I say it was a painful project because we got a long way into it, and we were developing a new theme engine in the back end of sort of recharge to be able to deliver this great portal. But it actually turned out that wasn't the best route to take in the end, because we faced a lot of challenges around just load times and API calls, and things weren't just quite working as quickly as they needed to. So in the end, it felt like we were swapping a whole set of problems for another set of problems, which were just going to cause more customer friction. So we ended up actually moving to Recharge's Affinity portal, which is their new customer accounts portal. And so we're making use of all of the features within there, and we have plans to sort of customize it further. So now it's Recharge's Affinity portal is really easy to go in and manage a subscription. It's really quick and easy to use. You can skip, cancel, add products really simply. So we've seen the impact of that on sort of customer queries reducing, relating to sort of accounts management and many other things. So it's been really great to be able to move to that and see the impact it's having. But there's also plans underway to kind of customize it further, because as I mentioned earlier, we want to deliver more commercial value from it for our subscribers, but also make it a place where our subscribers can go and actually engage with the portal and book a consultation, because when you join as a new subscriber, you get 2 free 30-minute consultations with our nutritionists with your subscription in the first 6 months. So we're trying to make it a place where a subscriber can go in not only to manage their subscription, but also to book their consultations, but also to find out about new products that we're selling and be able to add those to their subscription really easily.
Great. I've got 2 sub questions that weren't in the original list of questions. So see, the first one, I don't know if you'd be happy to answer or not. So around the time you joined, I think it's fine to say that Recharge were going through a lot of pain or a lot of change. So Shopify had just kind of, essentially opened up the playing field by releasing a new set of APIs, and there are a lot of new entrants, and Recharge, had to do a lot in order to, one, become compatible, but then also kind of de-risk by looking at other platforms and everything else. And then there were a lot of new entrants that had raised money and, very quickly started taking market share. And as a result, their product and support and everything else was impacted. I think a lot of that's been improved now. But around that time, you were considering moving away from Recharge, I think, but you've obviously stayed with them. Like, how have you found them as a partner over the last kind of year or two?
Yeah, I mean, Recharge have been they've been a good partner, and our considerations for moving away from them were largely because when I joined the business, Recharge was already in place, and I've seen it from my own experience previously. It's always good to do sort of a review of your platforms, your tech stack regularly, not too regularly, but regularly enough to just make sure you've got the best thing for your business at the time. And we've gone through such crazy growth over the last sort of 2 years that we're a totally different business today. So just reviewing our tech stack and making sure that we do have the right partners in place to support our growth is really important. So that's why we were sort of reviewing whether Recharge is the right partner for us, whether it's still offering us what we need. And ultimately, when we did that sort of due diligence around all of that and all the other apps that were out there, we did find that Recharge was the best partner for us in the near future to sort of support our next few years of growth, because we'd already invested quite a bit in terms of developing with Recharge already. And so everything that we kind of want to do going forward in the next few years anyway, Recharge can support. So we have seen some good support from them. I'd love to always see more. And I think we're trying to work more closely with them to try and get a bit more of a partnership going so that we can have that sort of more kind of regular contact and support. So we know what's coming up on their roadmap. We're kind of in their beta testing. We can test all the new features very quickly and learn from them and see if they're right for us and sort of move things forward in that way. So I'd probably say that, we're becoming a bit more of a collaborative partner, but like any app and and any support that you get from these apps, it's never as quick and fast and regular as you want it to be. So
yeah, that makes sense. But I think it is really impressive that they've kind of turned it around and, they're back to winning a lot of new customers now. And I think they've improved the product a lot. So yeah, I think that it's interesting to see them kind of come out of that so stronger.
And I think the other interesting thing with Recharge is, in the last, I'd probably say 6 months, they've really put a focus on trying to deliver lots of new products that they offer. For now, they're offering sort of loyalty. They're also offering reviews, I think, as well, and a few other things. So they're launching and churn prevention and cancellation. So they're trying to do a lot more in that space and be really quick at trying to release these products to try and compete with all the other sort of apps that are out there that are offering subscriptions. The only thing that I would say is they're releasing them very quickly, and so they're almost MVP versions, and almost like for us as a brand who's scaled quite quickly and in a place where we want to be able to deliver really great, strong experiences. Some of those products we can't use out of the box because they need a lot more customization and work for us to be able to put them out there. So I'd love to see Recharge do a bit more around getting them a little bit further down the line before they release them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a bit of a trend in the market as well. I think there's been so much consolidation and obviously being like dips in demand in certain areas and obviously, less revenue in certain areas. So it does feel, I could, name quite a few vendors that have definitely done that recently. So yeah, I think that makes sense, but still good to see them like pushing new stuff. And then the second question off the back of what you said was around the consultation. And I think when we were working with Wild, there was always like discussion around, do you charge for these consultations? Do you not? Like, when is it most relevant for a customer, etc. And when I've worked with other businesses in the past, it's been, a really good strategy for lead gen, but then also kind of upselling and, I guess loyalty. What kind of impact do the consultations have for you as a business?
Yeah, consultations are, they're huge for us as a business. It's a really unique part of our offering and really valuable in that our team of nutritionists they're experts in their fields. And what's really interesting about our business is supplements are a difficult space to navigate if you don't know what you need as a customer. And a lot of our customers come into the brand not knowing supplements, not knowing what they need. So the consultations are a really important service to be able to guide a customer through that journey in terms of what do you actually need to support your health for your particular life stage or whatever health goals you might have. So they're a really valuable tool for new customers in getting them through that funnel to what they need to purchase. But at the same time, they're also a really valuable tool for check-ins with our subscribers. And that's why we offer 2 free 30-minute consultations, extended consultations to all of our subscribers, because we know it's really important for acquisition, but at the same time, it's really important for retention as well. So we use them in both ways because it's a reward for being a subscriber, but it's also the ability to offer a customer value in a way. So where we talk about rewards and points, etc., our consultations are almost a reward for our customers in some fashion.
Great. And then next question. So, and we've talked a little bit about this already, like you mentioned kind of using rebuy, but in terms of kind of, you know, like new customer demand, like what tactics have you used that have worked for kind of turning first-time customers into subscribers, essentially, so kind of upselling the subscription over the first time purchase?
Yeah, interesting question. So again, it's evolved quite a lot since I first joined. So when I first joined, rebuy was a big part of that journey in terms of migrating customers to subscription and a big part of the actual website flow and journey. And we were using lots of different rebuy widgets across the site to try and upgrade to subscription in different parts of the journey. And it was our key tool to actually drive that migration. But as we've evolved into being subscriber first, it's shifted in the sense of we now acquire more subscribers than we do one-time purchases. So rebuy is less of a tool now in terms of migrating customers. Now it's more around we're getting people through the funnel, through that subscription first messaging across the website. And so for that cohort of one-time purchases that we still get through different channels, it's now using CRM to try and create that value there in terms of migrating them over to subscription. And, you know, with a business like ours, you want 100% of your customers to be subscribers if you can, but there's always a cohort of customers that we see who just don't want to subscribe. They just don't like subscriptions. So it's using our CRM to try and talk to those customers slightly differently and just try and drive repeat purchase and AOV in a different way, while still sort of reminding them that subscription is going to give you the best value if you're a customer with us. But we know that still may not trigger them to migrate to a subscription. So it's using sort of just communications to try and educate them around our new products and introduce them to those and give them an opportunity to still repurchase those through a one-time purchase.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then same question, but for existing subscribers. So you mentioned the consultation, but do you when I've historically worked with subscription brands, like some of the larger ones, they're like, and I guess as someone that hasn't done a huge amount with subscriptions, I've worked on a few projects. But one of the things that I didn't expect to be as big a focus was actually taking your subscription base or like your base of subscribers and then upselling them. So essentially increasing the subscription basket. What kind of advice do you have for people that are looking to do that? Or what kind of things have you done that have worked well on that side?
Yeah. So subscription basket is an interesting one, again, in a supplement space, because it's really about the storytelling and the education piece. And we're still working on that at the moment in terms of improving that. And there's a few different things that we've already tested and some things that are still sort of in progress and being tested. And there's two parts to that. I think one is, how do you drive value through the website? And some of those things are around, for us, it's around education and around which products work well together. And it is very much from a nutritionist perspective, like what do our nutritionists say about the benefits of those products being bought together? How do we communicate that as a story on the website so customers know that actually if you buy this with this, it works really well? But there's also a second part where customers just need to be introduced to that one product first, and they need to take that product, feel the difference, understand the health benefits, and then it's pinpointing at the right time when to then upsell that next product to them on that sort of life cycle and on that journey.
And then there's obviously like across subscriptions and lifetime values, everything we've talked about for the last 8 minutes. Reporting is often I guess one of the most important things, and actually being able to measure progress and having the right KPIs. How do you approach that?
Yeah, reporting is it's a beast. It's changed so many times since I've been in the business, and it's still evolving today, and it'll continue to evolve. And the metrics that we use as well to track is also evolving as we grow and scale as a business. I'd say there are a few key things with subscriptions that you need to track. Churn is a really important one, naturally, like the difference, the impact that churn can make on revenue and profit is huge. So churn is one that we always look at. LTV, you can imagine, a subscriber lifetime value, just like customer lifetime value for non-subscription brands, is really important in terms of how much you're acquiring a new customer for and how much are they worth from a lifetime value perspective, how much are they spending with you. So all of those metrics, all of the standard metrics that you would use as just a general customer business are really important. But for us, it's that repeat purchase rate, and it's that AOV, and it's that LTV, and it's that churn. So making sure that those are all healthy is really important. And then alongside that, I'd probably say the e-com product metrics, standard metrics that you would use, AOV, conversion rate, sort of items per order, all of those things are things that we track regularly through the website, just to understand, how are people moving through journeys? What are they purchasing? Are they purchasing one product, two products? And then also, I think for us as well, unlike other brands, how many interactions does it take to get to a purchase? And is that different for different cohorts that are going through the website?
Yeah, that makes sense. And something we haven't talked about, we've obviously talked about a lot of different things on this episode, and I've actually skipped past a couple of questions around kind of Shopify, just 'cause I think we've covered that. And something we haven't talked about is international. And in my experience, kind of Wild have a few times looked at international and maybe like dipped their toe in, particularly in Europe, to try and kind of, take some of the activity or customer acquisition activity and apply the same principles to different markets. But I know more recently you plan to kind of, go into the US and scale in other markets. Where are you on this, Jay? On that, Jay?
Yeah, so we deliver internationally to all of Europe and the US, Canada, Australia, the Middle East. So we deliver rest of world and Europe. We are also available on Amazon in the UK and Germany. And that's what we've done for the moment. We have talked about whether we expand and localize in other markets from a DTC perspective. And I think, there's a lot to go for in the UK. And so we are very much focusing on the UK market, but we are also still sort of exploring sort of different markets in the sense of just testing like awareness, like what's happening in these markets. Amazon Germany, how is that doing? What's happening over there? What interest are we seeing? What products are we seeing work well on Amazon Germany? And we're sort of just learning at the moment in terms of what's working in those spaces. And now we've relaunched international shipping through Europe as well, because it got switched off when Brexit happened, and it's just been switched back on again. It's just around understanding like what's the interest levels in different markets, what are we seeing, what products are looking interesting in those markets, and then from that we'll probably decide what route we take next.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know it's not an easy challenge for your product as well, and the US in particular is very competitive. I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's exactly that as well. There's different sort of regulatory and compliance sort of things that we need to consider from a product perspective when you go into the EU and when you go into the US. So it's a huge undertaking if we do want to start doing that. So I think it's just making sure that you do it at the right time, because otherwise you'll essentially just end up diluting all of your time and resources and investment in doing all of that, and then forgetting about your key market, which actually you could probably grow much quicker in if you just focused your time there than sort of diluting it across the different spaces.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then final question. So we've obviously talked about so much, that you've done recently, including the kind of rebuild of the theme. And we didn't talk about, but you've also moved to checkout extensibility, I think. What's next on your roadmap from a kind of, website and trade perspective?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, we're looking at sort of CDPs at the moment because we want to do a bit more personalization. We're getting to that point now where we know a lot about our customer journey and customer behavior. We want to be able to start utilizing some of that more effectively and retargeting customers with more relevant personalized experiences. So trying to explore sort of different options around that in terms of CDP and whether that's the right route to go. We also do a lot of testing on the website. So we're also looking at platforms that could potentially combine sort of CDP, but also conversion rate optimization as well. So we can kind of do 2 in 1 if that's even possible. So we're sort of exploring those types of things as well. And also, I think we have been using a Crow platform, but we're trying to do a lot more sort of code-based testing within the code itself, just to make it faster and more efficient, so that we can then flow that into development much more quickly when we do see winning tests. So we're doing a lot of that at the moment. And then we also have a quiz, which we run on Octane, which we've had since I joined. And we now actually have 3 quizzes. So we have a general quiz, we have one dedicated to menopause, perimenopause, and then we also have one dedicated to pregnancy. And they're super strong. They have a really high conversion rate, really high AAV, really great completion rate. And whenever we do throw traffic through the quizzes, they work really well. So again, it goes back to that point around being a supplements business. Like, customers don't always know what they want. So the quiz and our consultations really help drive people through that journey and take them through that storytelling piece much more quickly. So we're looking at the quiz and how it's currently performing, and just trying to understand, like, how do we optimize it? How do we maximize it? What do we need to do to try and get more value from it? But also, how do we use the data off the back of it? Because there's super rich data that comes from the back of our quiz. So I guess it's trying to understand, 1, how do we grow first party data? 2, how do we make it more useful? But 3, how do we maximize value from the data that we're getting from it?
Yeah, and that's obviously really good foundations for a CDP project and personalization. We were talking a bit around personalization before the start of this episode, and like a lot of our clients are trying to build new customer versus returning customer experiences, VIP experiences, category segments, etc. And actually, like, now we're trying to build the same principles of the quiz into the front end. So essentially, our average industry is like fashion, I would say, but just trying to, like, through the journey, kind of position more options that could then be pushed into the CDP and then be pushed into a segment, to basically drive that. So I think the fact that you've got those kind of initial quizzes that you're kind of pushing a lot of traffic through will definitely help the CDP project and the personalization project.
Yeah, so I guess it all goes back to, a key driver for us now is we've kind of put the foundations in place, and now it's really around, like, how do we deliver sort of richer experiences that are more personalized and do a lot more of that storytelling, but in a more customized way.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for coming on. That concludes all of the questions. If anyone wanted to get hold of you, or if anyone's got any questions or anything, what would be the best way to reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me. I'm on Roshni at wildnutrition.com. So feel free to drop me an email, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Lovely. Thanks again for joining. And just once again, thanks again to our sponsors, Centra and Greban. And we'll be back next week with another episode. So feel free to subscribe or follow us on YouTube or whatever the right thing says.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
You're listening to the Inside Commerce podcast, hosted by experienced consultants James Gerd and Paul Rogers. Inside Commerce is your fast track to digital knowledge, featuring interviews with leading e-commerce retailers, industry thought leaders, and the C-suite of key tech companies to explore the latest in digital strategy, customer experience, and tech. Discover what the latest trends really mean and get practical advice based on experience to help fine-tune your e-com strategy and tech stack. Follow us on LinkedIn and reach out to James or Paul if you'd like to discuss an e-commerce project. We hope you enjoy the latest episode.